Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, therefore I apologise in advance if I stumble over my words going forwards, and indeed if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision related video here on my channel, and it is time for the Q&A that I said I was going to film. A few days ago, I uploaded a very short video in which I asked you to leave me questions. They could be Eurovision related or not Eurovision related. And now, in this video that you're watching, I'm going to try and answer them. So yeah, that video that I uploaded a few days ago will be deleted because there's no point it staying online really. And it's very possible that in the near future I'll do another Q&A as well if people want to see that. So, I've got the video up in front of me. I had a fair few for what is a very small channel, so I'm very appreciative. Let's see what we've got. Saul said to me, who could be a surprise winner? Well, let me just take a look at the list here. A surprise winner. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I've plumped for Norway. I think Tix with Fallen Angel would be a very surprising winner. I personally would be shocked if Norway even finished in the top 10 this year. But you never know. If all of the big hitters, for whatever reason, flop, the performances just aren't up to scratch, and maybe if there's a ton of jury love for Norway this year as well, you never know. Stranger things have happened. Apart from Norway, I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really know. I suppose, certainly as far as I'm concerned, San Marino would be a surprise winner, because I think that there are other songs that are far better and more likely to win than Adrenalina. But again, you just never know what Flo Rida's impact could be. Take him away from that song, would the song be as interesting? I don't know. Maybe even Cyprus would be a surprise winner. I mean, I think a lot of people are expecting El Diablo to be up there, potentially in the top 10 in May, just not win. But again, if the major favourites slip up, or maybe aren't as well loved by the public or the juries, Cyprus might just sneak in there and take the win. You never know. So there you go. That's my answer for that question. God of Wrestling. Do you think Greece is going to win? Nope. There's your answer. I think Greece might do very well. I'm expecting a great performance from Stefania. I think Last Dance is quite a bit better than Supergirl, last year's effort. And with the right staging, great vocals, great energy, I don't see any reason why Greece can't finish towards the top half. Well, definitely in the top half in May. But I don't think it's a winner. I don't think it's a winner. Armando. Quite a few questions here. Winner of Eurovision 2021. Well, are you talking about my personal winner? Because I've mentioned that before. It is Italy. But in terms of who I think is going to win at this moment in time, Switzerland. Biggest flop or flops of Eurovision 2021. This is very difficult to answer because, of course, we haven't seen the performances on stage in Rotterdam yet. But if we are going to have any flop entries, maybe Russia. Maybe Croatia. I do still wonder about TikTok. Maybe Romania. Certainly taking a look at the running order now for semi-final 1. I think the attention is very much on other songs now. Romania's being a little bit left behind. And it's quite slow paced, so it's really going to have to stand out somehow from the field. From semi-final 2... You never know, San Marino might end up flopping, although I doubt it. Moldova, potentially, particularly if the staging is very messy. And, you know, maybe Bulgaria won't do as well as we all think. Remember Equinox in 2018, one of the favourites to win, didn't really come anywhere. So yeah, one of those that I've just mentioned, perhaps. Biggest surprise or surprises / dark horses of this year. There'll be a video soon about dark horses of this year's contest. But again, going through them briefly. Ireland. Australia might do better than we think. Norway. Belgium. Romania, even though I just said Romania could flop, Amnesia could also certainly be a dark horse. Czech Republic, Austria, Serbia, and I said this in a previous video, I'm amazed they are so low down in the betting odds. And maybe Germany, who might do better than we all think too. I don't feel hate by Jendrik, of course. So yeah, there's a selection for you. Who is coming last in Eurovision 2021? Well, we don't know the finalists yet, but last overall, I think it's probably going to be either Georgia or North Macedonia. At this moment in time, that's what I'd say. Can't see too many votes for either of those songs. If he is, will the appearance of Flowrider on stage have a positive effect on the points San Marino get? I think San Marino will get more points because of his involvement, because people know who he is. You know, he's quite a well-known star, I guess. And like I said a minute ago, you take Flowrider away from that song, and it's just another very credible up-tempo effort in this year's contest, and we've got a lot of them. And does San Marino's song stand out more than all the other up-tempo songs that we've got? I don't know. We've got to wait for the staging. They're on first in the second semi-final. Certainly many points for San Marino this year. I do expect they'll qualify, just not win. But you never know. Will the top three all have French song titles? Well, I assume that you're thinking France, Switzerland and Malta will be the top three. Very possible. Very possible. I personally think, and maybe you'll disagree with me here, but Destiny, who I think is so great representing Malta, I think that she's getting very confident indeed. And there's nothing wrong with confidence, but it might just backfire if she doesn't win. You know, I don't want to see her throwing shade at other artists, because that just comes across as potentially quite rude in the eyes of some people. But I really like her, and we know that she's a great singer, and Malta will certainly push for the win. But in terms of Malta, Switzerland, France, in any order making up the top three, it's very possible. Very possible. I feel as though people are sleeping on the French entry just a little bit. Voila, hopefully we'll be right up there. Non-Eurovision related question. I know you also like the Olympic Games. Do you like any sports in particular, and why? I do try and watch quite a bit of the Olympics when it's on, because it's a bit like Eurovision, you know, there is that competitive element to it, just with more countries, of course. I like the football, I like the athletics, I like the racket sports, so tennis, badminton, table tennis. I think skateboarding is part of the upcoming Olympics, so I'm looking forward to that. What else? I don't mind archery. Not a huge fan of swimming, diving, yachting, sailing, cycling. Oh, I just find cycling really quite dull, I'll be honest with you. But I like football because I've just been a football fan for years. Same with tennis. Archery I just think is quite interesting. You know how accurate you have to be and everything. So yeah, there's quite a lot of sports I enjoy. Do I play video games, and if so, what do you like to play? I do play video games, just not many and not that often. I actually have my sister's old Nintendo 64 set up in my room. So I've got classic games like GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, Banjo-Kazooie, absolute gems. I also have a PS1 set up in my room, which I don't play on all that often anymore, but I had some great games for that. And I have a PS4, but I've only got a few games. So I've got a FIFA game, I've got GTA, and I've also got The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, and I love those games, and I've played them quite a few times now. Absolutely love them. So yeah, I do play video games, just not that often. Mads, thank you for all your questions, by the way, Armando. Mads says, what is the first thing I would change about Eurovision? I don't really know. I don't think too much needs to change. Maybe I would increase the amount of jury members per country. So instead of 5, maybe 10. Maybe you could have the commentator as part of the jury every year. Maybe you could have the head of delegation as the jury, one of the jury members every year. Maybe the artist themselves, but then again, they'd have to keep quiet on social media about which songs they like and which songs they're not so keen on. Also, I would punish jury members and nations who clearly vote politically, because we've seen it before with Azerbaijan and Armenia. I think it's those two, where they've clearly deliberately ranked the other nation last, every single jury member. That's just not on. So I'd punish that. And I'd also really try, I know the EBU are trying very hard, I'm sure, but I would try even harder to get countries returning to the contest. So Andorra, Bosnia, Turkey. I'd try harder to get them back. Maybe reduce the fees that you have to pay as a broadcaster. I don't know. DMJJ says, who do you think will be the shock non-qualifiers of semi-final 1? I think Israel, Ireland and Ukraine are in danger when they would easily qualify if in semi-final 2. So I sort of mentioned this briefly earlier. I think shock non-qualifiers of semi-1. Maybe Croatia, maybe Israel, maybe Romania, maybe Ukraine. I can't imagine all 4 of them will go through. In fact, maybe only one of those nations will progress. We'll soon find out. 50 days to go or something, I think it is. 50 or 49. Anyway, do you think the UK are on the right track with BMG and James Newman? Do you think BMG will renew their 3-year contract with the BBC after next year's contest? I think they probably will, unless James finishes last with very few points. I think the UK are on the right track. Embers is a massive step in the right direction. It actually feels fairly contemporary, which is not, you know, a regular thing for British entries at the contest. So yes, I do think this year we could see a slight turnaround in the UK's fortunes with regards to the contest. Who do you think will be the shock jury favourite in this year's contest? Or in other words, who will be this year's Cesar Sampson and Tamara Tedesca? Possibly Anna Soklic for Slovenia. Possibly Vincent Bueno for Austria. Possibly Hooverphonic for Belgium. Possibly Blas Canto for Spain. Possibly Jean-Guy Macroy for the Netherlands. In all honesty, though, I don't think we'll have a shock jury favourite. I think the countries that we know are going to do well will do very well with the juries. Number 4 here. What do you think were the strongest national final songs for this season? By this, who would have done well at the contest if they were selected rather than your favourites? I am going to be making a video soon about national final favourites. I've actually tried filming it a few times. Let's go through this very briefly. So in terms of Lithuania, I think potentially the only other song that might have done very well at Eurovision had it won is the runner-up, Where Do You Want to Go by Gebrasi. In Melfest, well, quite a few songs, if they had won, would surely have gone on to do well at the contest. Erik Saade, Dotter, The Mamas, Danny Salcedo might have done very well. I'm just looking at those that were in the final specifically here. What else have we got? Norway, well, Kano, you never know, might have been a public vote winner again had they gone to Eurovision. Rayleigh would have done fairly well. Again, I'm just looking at those that were in the final of MGP. In Croatia, maybe She's Like a Dream, but I don't think... Maybe Rijeka would have made the final, but mid-table at best. Israel, I think Shoulders, had it even made the top 3 and then won, might have done quite well at Eurovision because we would have had a revamp. Otherwise, I don't really think any of the other songs for Israel would have done that well. Perhaps La La Love, maybe, if they'd revamped that. What else have we got? Estonia, Lost in a Dance, I'm sure would have done quite well at Eurovision, but didn't even get through the second semi. Yuri Potsman would no doubt have been in the final. Sissy, had she won, might have been a jury darling. Yeah, Koitume might have done very well too, but you never know. Maybe he would have flopped as well. Very difficult to say. Portugal, Dancing in the Stars would have done quite well. I think it would have maybe got Portugal into the final at the very least. Não Vou Ficar might have qualified too, you never know. Finland, I think Teflon Brothers and Pandora would have done all right. Oscar with Lie, he might have done very well with the juries. Same with Ilta, same with Axel. Denmark, I don't think any other song would have done that amazingly well at the contest. France, maybe Magique by LMK, and Pour vous quand même by Juliette Morin, again, maybe a jury favourite. And then Italy, if we are counting San Remo as a national final, Annalisa, Francesca and Fedez, maybe Madame, Irama, Willy Peyote potentially. Very difficult to say, but that's my answer there. And then number 5, best Eurovision stage since 2010. I think this is between Dusseldorf 2011, Copenhagen 2014, Stockholm 2016 and Lisbon 2018. I think I'm just going to go with 2011. Just really liked how simple but effective that stage was. The big LED screen and the circular stage and the catwalk. It was great. Moving on, thank you for your questions. Ryan, is there any countries that you think have been affected with the running order? E.g., we're going to be a qualifier, but running order hurt, or vice versa? I think Slovenia is in a bit of trouble. I think Romania is in a bit of trouble. And then in semi-final 2, Estonia. Not just because Estonia and Slovenia, which I just mentioned, are on second, but because the songs around them are arguably gaining a bit more attention at this stage. I think Iceland maybe has been hurt a little bit because the staging for the Moldovan entry and how vibrant the Serbian song's going to be. Iceland might just be brushed aside a little bit. Georgia, I think, are in a bit of trouble. Maybe Latvia, in between Finland and Switzerland. And then, of course, we can't really say about the automatic finalists because we don't have the grand final running order, of course. Mark, what is your first memory of Eurovision? Said this plenty of times on this channel, but I'll say it again. Watching the 2003 contest, which was staged in Riga, and then years later I found the CD in a music shop. Unbelievable that it was there for sale. You know, it must have been 2007 maybe, 2008, when I saw it in this store. Bought it, and then the memories came flooding back. I thought, oh, I do remember that song. I remember this song as well, even though it had been several years since I'd seen the contest on TV. So that's pretty much my first memory. Another question from Saul. Do you think the EBU and the broadcasters put on a good replacement schedule last year? Yes, I think we have to be grateful we got something. I think it would have been unfair if we did have a competitive element, although it's worth saying some countries did have a competitive element to their replacement shows. I know Germany and Iceland and Sweden did. The BBC had a few shows as well, and there was a slight competitive element where British viewers could vote for their all-time favourite Eurovision song, and Waterloo came out on top. There's a surprise. But yes, I think the EBU and the broadcasters did an alright job, absolutely. Steffi, do you think the 3 minutes rule could affect the quality of the songs in Eurovision? We've had that rule for a long time. I don't think it affects many songs at all. Maybe just where the artists have cut part of their song out. Maybe it jars a little bit too much. I thought that a little bit with Occidentali's Karma by Francesco Gabari, the Italian entry a few years ago. But actually, thinking of Italy again, this year's Italian entry has had to be cut quite a bit, but I don't think it's nearly as bad. So I don't think the 3 minute rule affects the quality very much at all, myself. Do you think it would be feasible to have that rule removed in the future? They could remove it, we'd just have a longer show. But then I suppose you would get a couple of artists who maybe push the boundaries a little bit, for want of a better phrase, and have 5 or 6 minute long entries with much more elaborate staging. So I don't think that rule's going to change at all in the near future. Walter White. Did you like the song Toy from Israel in 2018, and would you mind if songs like that would win Eurovision more often in the future? It doesn't bother me if the song's good, if everything comes together really well on stage. I'm not too fussed at all if a song like Toy wins again. Maybe not for a while, though. I did like Toy, although I must say when it came down to the final two on the night, I was hoping Cyprus were going to do it. A, because I personally thought it was a much stronger performance. Well, not much stronger, I just thought it was better. And Cyprus had never won before, so I was sort of rooting for Fuego just that little bit more, but I certainly wasn't bothered at all by the fact that Israel won. Another question from Mark. Favourite Eurovision year? 2003, because it's the first one I remember watching. We had a null point, we had a very close voting procedure, we had a debut nation, we had a country win that had never won before, we had a country host that had never hosted before. It was great. Latvia did a wonderful job. And finally, the Peace Surround, who also has a YouTube channel making videos about Eurovision every now and then. Is there an entry or more that at the time of the contest you didn't like, but years later you've warmed to it and come to like it? There's so many, there would have to be several videos talking about it. I mean, 2004, Serbia and Montenegro wasn't even a personal qualifier of mine. Finished second in real life. I now like it considerably more. Greece as well from that year, Shake It by Sakis Ruvas. 2005, Israel. Hashaket Sheni Shach, The Silence That Remains, Shiri Maimon, did quite well that year. Wasn't a personal qualifier of mine for a long time. 2008, Shady Lady, the real-life runner-up by Annie Lorak. Didn't think much of that at the time. Now I really enjoy it. Even Conchita Wurst, Rise Like a Phoenix. That wasn't a personal qualifier of mine in 2014, but now I think it's my number 11 or number 12 of that year's contest. Calm After the Storm, which is one of my all-time favourites from the very same year for the Netherlands. I wasn't loving it at the time, but after the contest, I just absolutely adored it. Everything about it. Still do. If I Was Sorry, the Swedish entry on home soil in 2016. I don't love that song by any stretch of the imagination, but I like it a lot more than I did at the time. And I suppose for My Lucky Day, Moldova 2018, I liked that a lot more after the contest when I could go back and appreciate the songs a bit more in my own time. And then I suppose from 2019, maybe Iceland a little bit. And then this year, I wouldn't be surprised if Iceland again, the Netherlands certainly, Australia maybe, and then maybe one or two others certainly, I'll end up appreciating more the week of the contest and then afterwards. It's bound to happen. Once we see that rehearsal footage, our opinions can change quite a lot, and mine no doubt will, although I must say Italy very likely to stay as my favourite of this year's edition. That's it, I think. Those are all the questions, and they were all my answers. Thank you very much to those of you who did leave questions. There'll be another Q&A at some point soon, and there'll be more videos as and when moving forwards, blog posts as well. Links as always in the description to my other social media pages. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on anything Eurovision related. We're getting very close to the contest now. Before you know it, they'll be building the stage at the Ahoy in Rotterdam. If you are from the Netherlands, what's the atmosphere like? Fans will be allowed in, apparently. 3,500 I read the other day. As long as they've had a negative COVID test. What do you think about any of the entries? Whatever it is, just let me know. I'm very interested to get a discussion going. And thank you very much for the support. Check out my other social media pages. I've already said that. Until next time, apologies if there was any lag. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for the questions once again. Bye for now.